I'm going to open up some questions to the floor. If you would like to address the panel. Any questions? Oh, very quiet.
Yeah, so just around the mentioning of apps, Google Apps, and what's happening there in our enterprise world. We certainly see things like what Microsoft is doing, and they seem to be catching up a little bit, certainly in our world. Whether you're looking at that yourself in your education world, and whether that's a similar experience and similar, seeing different capabilities coming from these other big multinationals.
We certainly see that others are doing what Google have done. Traditionally for us, we'll stick with Google because change and managing that change inside a school is a hugely complex process, and once you've got a lot of staff and students, we've got 800 people out there on the school campus, to go and retrain them to do something else would be quite a big effort. So we'll probably stick with what we've done. We've certainly noticed what the likes of Microsoft have done with their whole Office 365 rollout, and it is a lot better. The other reason I think that we'll probably stick with Google in the near future is that the management of it is actually easier for us. Whilst there are some quite good tools that allow Office 365 to integrate with Active Directory, there are a whole lot of other easier things that we can do. And in schools where you've got a small school, they can't manage that. They don't have the technological capability. And when you've got a place like Makarora, 10 kids, one principal, one office person, it's got to be straightforward. So a simple web interface to go to makes the huge difference to them. So we'll stick with what we've got probably.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Any questions coming through from our web audience?
We do have a question that's come through from one of our webinar users, which is, what about rural areas, not towns and cities?
In regards to?
Is that in relation to your last question?
Maybe about connectivity. Mm-hmm. I think in terms of the connectivity, obviously RBI is going to play a big part in that, and the recent kind of movements around the auctioning of 700 megahertz spectrum for LTE will make a big improvement as well in terms of reachability for rural areas. And I think it's fundamentally important for New Zealand's economy, which is very primary industry driven, and even in the tech space, agriculture and our capability in exporting that knowledge to the world in that sense is a very important differentiator for us. So, the government's making investments there, all of the major telcos are making investments there as well. So I think in the next kind of 3 to 4 years, you'll see a vast improvement in capability for rural areas. Already on our 4G network, you can get, I think we did 145 megabits per second the other day on my mobile device. So that kind of connectivity is, as good as or better than fibre, and will be available to those rural communities through the initiatives of RBI and the investments in LTE.
Just adding to that, what I'm noticing from a school's perspective is because schools really are the centres of their communities, as the connectivity is improved to schools, the communities themselves are actually getting the effect, the flow-on effect. It's all following through. You go back 10 years, Project Probe and broadband really started to take off, and the rural community started to get broadband, and that really only grew out of Probe and the way that continued on forward. Well, we're seeing exactly the same now coming out of the whole UFB RBI process. It's all flowing on, and like with what Wanaka's gone and done and got its own UFB program underway independently of the rest of the UFB rollout, I think that's evidence of that. I'm also involved in some other projects down in places like in Southland with Lockheed School and Lime Hill School, where community wireless is now happening. So things are coming in and they're being broadcast out to the community, because suddenly the school has got a 100 megabit fibre connection, so that can now go everywhere else. And there's lots of examples around the place of that happening.
Fantastic.
And we've just got one more online
question.
So from our perspective, we're disappointed at the response of retailers in respect to the utilisation of UFB infrastructure. How can we crank this up? This is in relation to Tim's comment, rare retailer knowledge.
Not sure I got that question, Karen.
So from our perspective, we're disappointed at the response of retailers in respect to the utilisation of UFB infrastructure. How can we crank this up?
I think that's the thing we have to do together. I mean, it's been a bit of a journey going from kind of the grassroots infrastructure investment to turning that into services for users. It seems like, hey, we've got a bit of fibre there now. Why can't we go and turn on gigabits and gigabits of speed for everyone? Because actually once that investment's made in the core infrastructure, from a Chorus perspective, we have to take that, turn that into services for end users that they want to use. There's a bit of kind of to and fro in terms of the configuration of those. So there's a bit of lag time there. But a lot of those services now are in market, readily available. And it's just a process, I think, particularly with organisations, larger organisations, in terms of planning how they migrate through that change. Can be quite a complex change for them. And availability is growing, but it's not ubiquitous. And so you do kind of get into the situation of when do I go, what's the optimum time to go through that change. We have a hybrid capability, so we can kind of migrate customers as connectivity becomes real for them. Yeah, I think you'll start to see momentum growing. Most of the retailers I talk to, and certainly we know ourselves, is we absolutely want this to happen. There's nothing in our organisation we'd like more than to have all of our customers on fibre. And so we're not trying to hold it back, and we want to get out there and work with organisations to make it real. But understanding that it's particularly complex for our government customers, and often because of the amount of change they're going through to get through to that point. But definitely not standing in the way. I mean, it enables all the other things that we'd love to sell you.
Okay, so I've got one question, I suppose, from my perspective to you, Dave. There seems to be a tremendous drive in technology, and certainly organisations like Cisco are investing a tremendous amount of money on new capability and new technology that is enabling and empowering businesses. But where do you recommend people go to find out and read more about what's happening and what's coming and how it's coming? Certainly listening to Tim and some of the technology that he's gone and used and how he's got those benefits. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to go and read about what it is and how it is and facing the same types of problems. Where's the best place to go for people here and on the webcast to go and have a read about those technologies?
We obviously have online access on multiple methods to look at our own information. I guess what I'd say, it's not the lack of information, but probably if you go off searching, it's the amount of information you're going to find.
Absolutely.
And even internally for us, that there's so much information at everybody's hands. I guess it's trying to match the information you're looking for to the outcomes of your business issues. And I guess what I'd say and what we're finding is typically people will spend a lot of time driving down trying to self-research or get to a point where they're trying to answer the solution technically themselves, whereas if they were to go directly to their partners who do that every day as their core job, they're better matched to listen and understand your business issues and match that with technology. So everything's out there. You Google Cisco or you Google any of the major trends and it's going to pop up multiple searches. Easiest way to find it, but best would be to contact your partners is my recommendation.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
Hello. In one of the things you mentioned is that we're trying to empower businesses to become more mobile, so we're mobilizing them. Through our SAP platform, are we also enabling business to develop their own applications specific to them? And if yes, then how are we marketing this so that basically we are creating our own app store, which is a telecom store specific to New Zealand? How is all of that happening?
Yeah, I think it's the platform we've invested in is absolutely capable of that, and it's one of the main kind of value propositions that they take, is that it enables organisations to very easily, rapidly, scalably deploy and develop mobile applications. So it's a platform as a service product. It's fundamentally what it's about. A lot of the engagements we're focused on at the moment, customers don't have the capability to do that development themselves, and so I think that's a thing we need to grow as a country is that capability. I think very good mobile application development resources quite hard to find in New Zealand. There's a lot of projects going on, and so the resources that are there are consumed quite quickly. But the platform is absolutely about making it easy to do that. In terms of marketing it, there's lots of ways we can look at doing that. Certainly creating an ecosystem is one of those things on the roadmap. Digital ventures, where I work, is another area where we're looking at cool ideas that people might come up with and seeing how we can take those to the world. So plenty of opportunities to get there and really develop that ecosystem in New Zealand. But the platform is fundamentally there to do that, and that's what it's kind of designed to do.
Thanks very much. I think if there are no more questions, I think we're pretty much out of time, so that's fantastic. To Tim, Richard, Aaron and Dave, thank you very much for joining us today. To everyone that came in for breakfast and all those that joined us on the web, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the session, found it as informative as I did, and certainly some amazing things and people doing some amazing things with the technology. So thank you very much.